to start out, Holly, by asking you to catch our listeners up. I'll put the 3 posts in the show notes, but can you give us a bit of a bird's eye view of what that post meant for you, what you were trying to convey, and why this feels like such a potent topic right now?
Yes, and thank you for having me back. I'm so excited for this conversation today. So that post, it came off the back of me being interviewed on my friend Victoria Kleinsman's podcast, and she asked a series of rapid fire questions that I was totally unprepared for. She did not send them to me ahead of time. I had no idea what she was going to ask. And that in and of itself, that uncertainty is so nerve-wracking. But one of her questions was, if you could wave a magic wand and solve any world issue, what would that be and why? And I remember this moment, this internal moment I had of trying to find the right thing to say, like the righteous thing to say, which I'm sure we'll get into righteousness as we explore this conversation more in depth. And I was able to catch that and say, okay, this is not about having the right answer. This is about having the true answer, like the true answer for me. And what came through me in that moment was this recognition that if I could solve any world issue, it would be us versus them mentality. And that to me, and we're going to probably go so much more into depth in this, but it's deeply personal. It's very, very personal for me as someone who grew up in the evangelical church, where us versus them is the dominant narrative. It is us who have been redeemed and will be going to heaven, and it is them who are wrong and either must be saved or are going straight to the fiery pits of hell. And I have spent years, I guess since probably 2019, so the past like 3 years or so, really pulling apart and reckoning with my own contribution to us versus them mentality, how that showed up in my spiritual life, but then also how we do one thing is how we do everything. That translated into my political life and my social views and the way that I did my work and the way that I just showed up in life is having the sense of I'm in this camp and everyone else is in that camp, right? And this is like the statement of the decade, probably. Like 2020 was a very redefining year for me in so many ways. And I found my own us versus them mentality really, I could say, we could also call it my internal fragmentation, right? Really amplifying in that time of just so much uncertainty, so much collective trauma and fear. And it came to a point where significant relationships in my life were being harmed, where I was questioning, can I even have a relationship with this person who's extremely meaningful I've known most of my life? Or, should I be kicking that person out of my life? And it became this very like black and white, these people are good and these are bad. And it caused this fragmentation in my relationships. And I'm a big proponent of therapy. I go to talk therapy and I started to work through a lot of that stuff and really kind of bring it back to my the origin point where I grew up, and then also just the humanness of us versus them mentality. Like we have this binary nervous system, which I know is something that you and our mutual friend Lindsay Lockett talk a lot about. We're always trying to find certainty. Oftentimes that's in our tribal association. So really bringing a lot of compassion and awareness to this part of myself, very long journey. And then through that awareness, committing to the practice of the gray, committing to the practice of nuance and what I'll often call the rehumanization of the other. So instead of taking this group of people who see things differently than me and putting them into this category of bad and other, right? And all of the the labels that I could associate with them, is actually challenging myself to see them in their full humanity, to see someone who's different than me in their full humanity, and how that actually humanizes me too. Because in this pursuit of what I would say righteousness or goodness, there's this perfectionism that we also can uncover within ourselves, or recognize within ourselves as like a driving force of needing to put forward this perfect virtuous version of ourselves. And so really allowing for more nuance and complexity within myself, seeing that in other people, allowing that to create more mutual understanding and then harmony and healing in the relationship. And that to me is how we actually move forward. Like as utopian as it might sound, I really do feel like this is our collective human homework.
Yes.
Is like how we move beyond this like animal instinct to tribalize ourselves, right? And really come together towards finding that common ground and moving together.